Welcome to another EdTech Collective event, another Canvas live stream specifically discussing lore. And if you're not familiar with lore, Learning Object Repository, we are here with our good friends from Learning Explorer inside of Canvas, Alexandria and Kara, and as always, my good friend, Trenton Goebel. We appreciate you guys so much for joining us today on this gorgeous Thursday. It's very beautiful where I'm at. Maybe it's raining where you are at, but we definitely appreciate everybody joining us live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. I don't have a clue what a Learning Object Repository is, and I'm not sure a lot of educators might know as well. So Karen, Alex, we'll kind of let you kick off just giving a brief definition and then showing the tool off in Canvas. I'll obviously kick it over to Trenton and let him kind of run the show, because when he's in the building, I just get out of the way. That's typically how this works. Karen, Alex, tell us a little bit about what lore is and the Learning Object Repository specifically in education.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you, Trenton, for having us. We're super excited to be here today. So we like to think of a lore as a single system, right? A single system that a district can house all of their licensed publisher content alongside their district-created content alongside our curated OER. So think of it as this all-in-one search, this place where teachers can go and search for anything and everything under the sun related to education, mix and match these learning objects to build a beautiful lesson collection, and then deliver that out to their students. So it really is going to optimize productivity, save time, and really open the doors for ultimate productivity. So that's kind of what a lore is. And it's an integral piece to a district's digital ecosystem as well, that speaks to an LMS, works with an LMS, and all those other tools that a district's using within the district.
Awesome. Appreciate that. Trenton, I'm going to let you take it from here. Thank you so much as well. I love it when someone comes in and MCs for me, because I can get out of the way. Too many people have seen my face too many times over the last year. So Trenton, take it away.
Thanks, Eddie. You know, one of the things we talked about before we jumped on was I think a lot of people are going to learn some things today about an area of EdTech that really doesn't get talked a lot about. So I'm excited to learn, and I'm excited to learn from both of you. And I would love, before we kind of continue on, to get a sense, give you a chance to introduce yourselves.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally.
Go ahead,
Kara. Go ahead.
So I'm Kara Fusen. I'm with Learning Explorer. I'm part of the customer success team. I'm actually a former educator. I'm currently living in Texas, but I'm from Chicago. So taught in Chicago, taught in Dallas. I'm a 7th grade English teacher and have that experience from, roomers and Zoomers and teaching in a hybrid setting, teaching in the pandemic. So bringing all of that experience to this role in Learning Explorer and understanding how a lore would have saved me so much time in the classroom had I had that awareness and that recognition of what it can do and how powerful it is. So I'm really excited to teach everybody about a lore and how it works with Canvas, because we all know we got really familiar with that over the last 2 years as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And my name is Alex I'm down here in Southern California right now. I'm previously a 3rd grade teacher. I taught in Johnson County school system in North Carolina. So I'm far from home, but I love working with teachers, especially since the landscape's changed in this digital virtual hybrid space, and seeing how Learning Explorer platform caters to synchronous, asynchronous environments. And I'm also part of our customer success team in making sure our districts are super successful in rolling out the product in their district. So excited to be here with you today.
And I love talking to former educators. It makes me happy. So especially as we talk about the impact of Learning Explorer and the lore, one of the things that I think about when I think about, hey, this Learning Object Repository is such a great thing because we pull all of these different, resources together. But in a lot of ways, I think for teachers, the challenge is just the ability to be able to, search and find content. Maybe talk a little bit about some of the challenges that teachers are facing in 2021.
For sure. So, in a minute I'll show you, but I guess in one word, today's teachers are overwhelmed. They are being tasked with more things on more things with the same time constraints. And, they have all of these different systems and resources that they've been thrown at them, especially in the last 2 years. And for a lot of teachers, especially, just like how we teach our students, and we realize that they're having a hard time keeping up. The teachers are too. They're not getting that same that training and that ability to be aware of the different resources that districts have bought, how to use them, how to inject them in the classroom. And so it's what ends up happening is that we have all of this district created content or district purchased content that ends up pretty fragmented, and it's spread across different places around the web. It's all housed in different password protected web pages. It's in different folders. It's in, shared folders, shared drives, all these different places. And so it really prevents teachers from being able to take advantage of those resources and really have that consistency in the classroom. You might have one teacher that's a really great tech leader, and you have another that is just maybe a little bit more tech averse, and they don't understand how to use those. And so you don't have that consistency in the classroom. So Learning Explorer really simplifies that and brings order to that chaos. As Alex mentioned, a LOR and an LMS are really complementary systems. So they speak to each other, but they are definitely different, and they help each other both bring out the most in the classroom. So I'll show you really quickly of how and what I mean, because when you have all these fragmented systems and you have all this different content spread across the web, teachers have to go to, their Discovery Ed, or they have to go to their HMH, they have to go to their, Nat Geo, and they have to search for the content they want. But when you use a learning object repository, and especially as, something as simple as using it in Canvas, and I'm sharing my screen now, you can search directly across all of your different providers that you have. So, you can bring in all of your school district content, you can bring in all of your licensed publisher content, and you can make it really easy to do and conduct one search for everything that you need and have, I know I said I was a former English teacher, but I like to always do different things. So
can I ask a just quick clarifying question? I'm not seeing your screen. Am I the only one that's not seeing your screen?
Uh-oh.
Just checking.
There we go. Okay.
All right.
I'm sorry. Let me backtrack. So, when you come in through Learning Explorer, you're coming in through, Canvas. So I'll just show this really quick, how you're coming in through Canvas. And you have, like I said, all those different resources that you've pulled into one place. So you can search across all of your providers, all of your district created content, open educational resources as well. And you have everything in one place. So I could grab my different content, whatever I'm looking for. I said I was a former English teacher, but I like to look at other things. So I'm going to do bees. And so I've searched across, in one place and managed to search across several different providers, which is something that is pretty unique. So that ease, that capability is something that saves teachers a lot of time, and importantly gives that time back into the classroom where they're really hungry for it. And it helps making lesson planning a breeze, helps making actually delivering the content a breeze, especially when you're in the moment and you're just looking for something really quick to reinforce or hook your learners. This type of capability is something that saves teachers a ton of time and stress.
Yeah, let me ask you a question, because one of the things that is always so hard when we talk about content, especially when we talk about kind of the aggregation of content, is just for teachers finding things that are age appropriate, or more specifically that are aligned to standards.
Yeah.
Do you find that the standard alignment is something you're hearing a lot from your customers?
For sure. I feel like, as former teachers ourselves, I feel like one of the main pushes you had was, and teachers are creative. They're inherently, very ingenuitive, and they love to, take things into their own hands and attack a problem, right? But, you can be the most creative person, but at the end of the day, if the students aren't mastering the specific content, then all of your work is kind of, fruitless, right? So we want to make sure that the content that you are teaching is standards aligned. So in a learning object repository, you can search not only across the different providers, but also across grade levels, across different subjects. And then you can also pull in your state or your Common Core standard. So for the sake of today, I've pulled in an example state, but this might be reflected for whatever your state standards are, or if you're using Common Core state standards. So that way you have that peace of mind that not only while I'm searching for a resource about bees, I can also make sure that my resource is standards aligned. So I can also, sorry, I got to pull in some filters, some different facets to make sure I find what I need. But I can expand these standards and find exactly the content that I'm looking for. So those are always really great because it's not something that teachers always have at the top of their mind. They don't have the explicit standard committed to memory. So to be able to pull that in is super nice, and have that right at your fingertips with a few clicks of a button.
And are you guys focused primarily on, like, it seems like when we talk about content, there's a lot of teachers out there like, that's great. You've got math, I'm sure, language arts, kind of focusing on those core 4 subjects. Do you guys focus on just the core 4 subjects, or do you go more broadly than that?
Yeah, honestly, I think that's like the misconception, is that some of these tools that are out there only benefit, maybe the core 4 teachers, and I know sometimes, like, as being a core 4 teacher, like being an English teacher, I know I was always like, wow, it's really great to have all these resources, and hearing the complaints from my peers of like, well, that's great, but like, what about any of the electives or any of the alternative subjects that we teach? But actually in a lore, and I'm going to take off some of these facets because these maybe don't apply to everybody. But we have a ton of subjects that are supported. So we have our core 4, but we also have supplementary content, electives, things like even just classroom supports, social and emotional learning content, career and technical education. Every single person in the educational realm can benefit from a lore, whether that's educators or paraprofessionals or instructional coaches or students or administrators. There really is something for everybody within a lore.
Yeah. So here's a question for you, because I could hear people saying, well, I can just Google stuff, like there's getting access to content sometimes isn't the challenge. It's really more around, how do I translate those elements that I find and get them into, like, the learning tools that I'm using, right? So what can teachers do to simplify the process?
Yeah, so we can obviously all go out to Google and spend endless amounts of time searching for stuff and questioning, is this even high quality? And then your time's gone and you've gone down this wormhole. So coming here to doing a simple search like you would on Google, but then incorporating those filters like Kara has shown into a grade level, a resource type. So we have all these rich, different diverse media types. So things that you can print out in the classroom, but also a video. So if you're specifically looking for that video, then you can search for a video. And then from there, you can actually take these resources that you're finding and then use our collection builder. So Kara's kind of showing that right now, to link them all together. So the collection builder allows you to drag and drop the resources that you're finding from search. So we don't have to go out to Google, right? We're still staying within this one system. And then you can click, drag, and drop into your collection. So she's creating a collection on pollinators, specifically bees. So this allows her to kind of organize, collect, gather all of those resources from all those different places that are high quality, vetted by her district. So that's kind of how the collection builder facilitates that.
Yeah, that's really nice. I mean, it's just nice to be able to kind of organize those. And does this carry over, like, from year to year as a teacher? Do I have to rebuild all of this content?
No. I mean, obviously year after year, you want to reflect, right? You want to change, you want to adjust, you want to enhance or make things different. So your bones of your lesson are always there, and you can adjust as you need year over year. In this view that Kara's showing, it kind of looks like you would make a playlist, like in Spotify or on Pandora or your streaming services, right? You can kind of mix and match your albums from your different artists. And this is kind of how this appears here in the collection builder, and building that mashup of resources kind of, across all of these this particular lesson is going to be super helpful in that goal, right?
Yep. And it's interesting because I'm thinking about during COVID in particular, as here at Instructure with the learning management system, it was amazing how so many teachers had to adopt, this tool, and maybe it was relatively new to them or brand new to them. And I think that was true for a lot of EdTech, right? There was a lot of technology that was being adopted during COVID, and teachers were kind of put in a position where they had to kind of make sense of all of that new technology. What do you think the role of the lore is in terms of kind of teacher adoption of all of this new technology?
Yeah, I mean, so over the last few years, I feel like teachers have had, as you mentioned, they had to adapt so much. They had to become really creative, really savvy about how do I, how do I engage those little black screens that are all over my page? Like, how do I make sure that they're actually listening, that they're wanting to come back and, learn something from me today? And so a lot of times we've turned to some of these other ed tech tools, those engagement tools, those interactive tools, the accountability pieces. And, we don't want to replace what teachers are doing in the classroom. We just really want to make it easier. And that's what Allure does, is makes teaching easier for teachers, and also easier for students to obviously digest the lesson and understand the lesson. So, as I'm showing you here on my screen, is that you can build your collection from any of the resources that exist within the Allure. Like I mentioned, that licensed publisher content, that district created content, that open educational resources, but you can also pull in your outside resources. So things that, if anything that has like a web link, those different resources, those quizzes, those Nearpods, those Padlets, those things that you found that really work with your students and resonate with them, we encourage, teachers to bring those in to really make a comprehensive, engaging learning experience. But you can also customize your collections. We know that teachers know their learners best. At the end of the day, you're with those students for 180 days. So what makes them tick and what helps them to, master those concepts. So you can personalize them by creating a page and adding in some instructions. You can pull in those Google productivity tools that you love, those Google Docs or forms or slides, or even make it interactive with a Jamboard or Google Drawing. You can make it really visually appealing by adding in a Pixabay image. So adding in some high quality visuals for our visual learners, or adding in some additional components to your collection. So that's very robust and super well-rounded. So it's all about creating that comprehensive learning experience.
So I think, and as I'm looking at this, it all makes sense to me. And I think for a lot of, obviously for our Canvas users who are seeing you want kind of do all of this through, connection to Canvas. You'd said earlier that the LMS and the Allure, they're complementary tools, right? That they maybe elaborate a little bit on, once I'm in here and I've kind of organized all of this, what is the real connection to the LMS?
For sure. So, like I said, former teacher of the Roomers and Zoomers. So I'm going to show you something that probably looks pretty familiar for a lot of teachers. Is, you had to make your directions. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. You had to make your directions for your students, and you had to go to your YouTube. You had to go to your Discovery ad. You had to go to, Google Drive and hyperlink all of your docs. And this is honestly what a lesson of mine might have looked like for my students, previous years, of telling them, okay, here's your moves for today. Here's what you're doing. These are the steps that we're going to do this in, especially for my kids who are learning asynchronously at home, and maybe they weren't able to meet the live meeting. This wasn't impossible. I mean, it looks organized, but it's also was super time consuming. This, took maybe 30, 40 minutes every day to set up for each lesson. And sometimes I had to duplicate it over and over and over for my my classes, or change it, whether I had to differentiate for a different level of learners. So again, it just was like another added stress, another time suck for me as a teacher, knowing I still had a litany of other things that I had to accomplish in that day with the same amount of time. So this might be what it looked like before, where you had to, click out to the different resources, and it's, just disorganized. Well, with, Allure or Learning Explorer being able to build that one comprehensive learning experience, I could bring all of the content that I have from my playlist, as Alex kind of mentioned, like that Spotify playlist. I'm mashing it up from all over, and I have one link that brings in all of the resources that I need for my students to accomplish the lesson for the day, for that week, for that unit, whatever it is. And I can also, modify this as I see fit. So, if I wanted to hide anything in real time, if I wanted to gradually release any components for my students, I could do that as well. And they'd be none the wiser, because it's the same living link. So that gone are the days where I'm having to go back to each different course, update the module, update the link, tell students in an announcement, hey, the link's been refreshed, or any of those things that really are challenging for teachers. This just makes it really easy for, a teacher management, and then also for students, that how simple is it for them to click a button and go through the content as you've organized it and as you have structured it for them.
Yeah, that's really nice. I mean, I'm thinking back to when I was a teacher. We didn't have all this technology. It feels like, but a lot of the work that I did was very collaborative. There's just so much content to create, and within Canvas, we allow teachers to be able to share. We allow districts to be able to create modules and try to minimize the amount of duplicative work. Do you find that, when we're talking about the lore, are you getting some of that same feedback that, how do we support teachers collaboratively?
100%. Like two heads are better than one. Working smarter, not harder. So with Learning Explorer, those peers and colleagues that want to work closely together over the digital or virtual space, they can easily share these collections that you've created. So my bee collection that I created, I can share with a fellow third grade teacher, right? And I can say, hey, look, here's an awesome collection on pollinators. I'm going to share that with you by typing in my email, and I can share this with someone across the district, someone at a third grade teacher at another school, or someone within my PLC. So it's a great way for you to double down, maybe say, hey, I got you started here, or hey, you take this section of the pollinators unit, I'll take this section of the pollinators unit, and then we can smash it all together. And now we kind of have our outline of our pollinator unit, and we all did a different piece of it. And from there, after you share, you can differentiate it for your learning, for your instructional needs. So definitely being able to use that year after year as well will save them that time.
So just for clarifying, I'm curious, as a teacher, if I share this with you, are we working with, is it like a Google Doc where we're both working in the same element? And then as a teacher, can I copy that and have my own so that you don't mess mine up later? I mean, not that you would, I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Actually, there's two kind of ways you can share. So I can share and I can give someone view privileges. So if giving view privileges, just like in a Google Doc, you're just saying, hey, you can view it. If you want to make any edits, you need to make a copy of your own and kind of edit it on your own. So don't mess up my copy, only edit your copy. But then you can also give someone the can edit privileges. So you can have 10 people, one person, 2 people in there all making changes at the same time. And you can see if they're making those changes. So any updates that are made will obviously be reflected in that collection. So yes, you can collaborate 2 ways. What's great about the can view privileges is if you are an instructional coach and you want to share with the entire third grade team, you're just giving them that, say, hey, take this collection, and here's everywhere to get started, make a copy of it, edit it, and make it your own for your own teaching situation. So here's all the great resources I found for you. And then that way the instructional coach's version isn't really getting, messed up per se.
So here's a question. And this is, as I've worked with school districts, when I was teaching, I worked in a really large district, and that was all I really knew. I thought all school districts were just like mine. And then as I went out and started working with districts around the country, I found that, like, wow, they're very different. Some districts will be kind of the ones who create all the content. So like with Canvas, you might have some districts who are like very strict around, we build the modules, you work from our modules, and other districts it is, you're kind of on your own. Do you have the ability with this at a district level to be able to go in and be the creator of content? Because ultimately, I think a lot of times teachers don't have the time. They don't have the resources. And you have districts that have, say, curriculum departments where teachers are putting things together. Is that true here for Learning Explorer?
Yeah, for sure. I think that, and I agree completely. I feel, I think back to the different districts that I taught in, and there was some that was like, hey, go forth, good luck, and make some lesson plans. And there's others where, they created like a really strong framework for some units, and then other units, it was still, again, like kind of like, good, go forth and good luck. And I'm definitely more of like I need like the visual component to understand like what should be the end product. And so I was always just craving some more structure. I like being able to be creative. I definitely liked being able to create my own, like cutesy teacher things, but I also still wanted a little bit more of the structure so I knew what the expectations were in order to make sure that I was doing good by my students and making sure they were going to be successful. So for districts that do want to share curriculum, and they are being kind enough to do that, because that is a kindness. If they're sharing their curriculum with their teachers, they can use this shared by my district tool. And so within this tool, this would be maybe something for like administrators or curriculum coaches or instructional coaches, or department leads. They would actually build their content and create it here. And then they would be able to post it within this tab. And so then if I'm coming in as a teacher, I'd be able to see any of the content that's shared by my district. So that way is like, it's like a green light to me of like, oh, like the elementary school has shared some content with me here. I need to make sure that I'm using that content. And then just like how in the shared with me, when it's peer-to-peer sharing, I can also make copies of it and add it to my resources, manipulate it a little bit, make some creativity. This is not intended to stifle or handicap any teacher's creativity. It's just to ensure that there's, some consistency for teachers, the grade levels, the campuses, and that, all of the different, standards, learning objectives are all being included into the content that's being taught.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's and I don't have. I mean, the way I phrased it, it made it sound like I was potentially negative. What I hear from districts is it all depends on resources.
Mm-hmm.
Some districts have the resources to be able to create content and share with teachers, and some districts don't. And so the ability for a district to be able to organize and curate the content and be able to share that with teachers seems like such an incredible resource for teachers. And then to be able to have that content available directly through Canvas and made available to students, it just seems like a really efficient way to be able to aggregate and disseminate content.
Yeah, for sure. And for those districts, I mean, like you're totally right. There's some districts that have an abundance of resources, that there's like almost like too many things. And so this really benefits them by having all of their resources in one place and being able to like search across all of them. But there's also those districts that, there's a lack of resources and they're hungry for those resources, where, being able to use some of that open educational resources that are, high quality and standards aligned is going to really be beneficial for them when they are trying to satisfy that need for resources as well. So, as we mentioned, every single person and district has a way to benefit from a LOR, regardless of which end of the spectrum that you're at.
I know. Yeah. And think about new teachers. I remember being a new teacher and being like, where do I do? Where do I go? What do we have? Like, what is this? And this just kind of simplifies that and puts the awareness, and you feel supported as a new teacher as well.
Yeah. It's funny, when I was a new teacher, this is going to sound terrible, but I wasn't really, I wasn't aware of what I didn't know. And so a lot of times when the other teachers would say, can I help you with anything? Is there anything you need? I was like, I think I'm okay. I didn't even know what to ask for, so having an environment where that content is curated, it's available to me, as a new teacher would have been incredible.
Totally.
Yeah. And I think, like the whole goal, like, thinking about new teachers, when you're like left to your own devices, you have a lot of questions, you kind of feel like you're in that moment, you're like, someone asks if you want help and you just don't even know what to ask for. You're not really certain what you need. So you're just treading water, and it kind of puts you in this tailspin. And so what I feel like a lot of teachers, especially new teachers, end up doing is they just dip into their own piggy bank and they look to like supplement. Mm-hmm. And, I feel like having an awareness of how, a LOR would really benefit them and their wallet would be something that I feel like every new teacher would have like that. In, even seasoned veteran teachers would breathe a sigh of relief to know that they didn't have to, go to somewhere else to find the content that they need. So.
Yeah. And I think just even that connection to the LMS. And I think that's important, that the ability to be able to, we know teachers are working through the LMS right now. Especially during the pandemic, they're organizing all of their, their lessons and everything to be able to bring the LOR in so that content is available to them and it's all connected. It just makes a ton of sense to me.
Yeah. And I think that, even those use cases have become even more prevalent, like thinking about during even this year, it's like we're post-pandemic, we're back in the classroom. We're trying to be more face-to-face and delivering, live instruction. But we know that a lot of teachers are still going home and that there's substitutes in their classroom. And so, how easy is it to be able to do this remotely, to quickly add it to Canvas and know that everything that I need for my students for that day is already there for them, makes it easier for me to, while I'm at a distance, my kids are in the classroom, they can still go through this. And then also being able to, in a live setting when we're face to face, being able to set this up for my students and being able to show them the content that they want. They one click and they have everything that they need to be successful for that day. So, it's really easy to connect it to the LMS and use that integration. It's, beautiful. It's easy for students to use. It's easy for teachers to use, regardless of how tech savvy you are, which I feel like is definitely a benefit for all types of teachers.
Yeah, that is really cool. I'm excited about the partnership with Learning Explorer. I love getting to talk to you guys, and I even love more getting a chance to see how Learning Explorer integrates into Canvas and the resources and what that actually does for teachers. So I'm going to invite Eddie back in, see if Eddie has any questions. But also I'm going to ask Eddie to put that the website back up again so that if people are interested or want to learn more about Learning Explorer, they know where to go.
Yeah, learningexplorer.com is the go-to place for all things Learning Explorer. Imagine that. Really appreciate you guys taking the time. We didn't have any questions come in. If you do have questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. We'll try to get back with you on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. But these fine folks from Learning Explorer did a fantastic job. So well, in fact, we had 0 questions or comments come in during the session. So it's obviously a really fantastic way. I know that I learned a ton about LORs. I'm sure a lot of other folks out there did as well. If you have other questions, learningexplorer.com, reach out to Kara or Alex. I'm more than happy to help you. Trenton, thanks again for joining us on the live stream. Always nice when I can take a step back from emceeing and let someone else do it. It's a fantastic Thursday when that happens. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.